Howdy y'all, you got the Bulldog on the channel. What we got in here today is a 2001 Ford F-150 with a 5.4 in it. I don't think I've done a start to finish video on one of these for all the spark plugs. It's a little bit intimidating for some people. I have had people tell me you have to pull the cab to do these. You do not have to pull the cab to do these. It used to be a lot more difficult for me before I knew a little bit of tricks. So I'll show you that, and we're going to get these things thrown in. This is a regular customer. It's been on the channel before. He's had plugs put in it. It's been a long time ago though. 9 years since he's had all the plugs put in it. It blew one out here a couple, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, I don't remember. It blew one out and we put that one in there with an insert. So I'm a little bit worried about one of them, but it's been many miles since they've had all of them done, and I'll go ahead and replace that one. It's only got 25,000 on it, but we're doing the rest of them. At that time, the other plugs had 40,000 in them, so we didn't do the whole thing. I thought he was going to get rid of the truck, but he's keeping it, and he's decided it's going to be a whole lot cheaper to fix what he has than to buy something different. So let's get after it. Now, the number one thing you want to do on these things, it's got all these things sitting down, going through the intake, or next to the intake. These things tend to get a lot of debris built up around the coils, especially when you're, live off the paved road, and especially little bitty rocks. If you just go ahead and grab that coil and pull it out, then all that stuff that's around it will fall down into the hole, and that's bad. So what you're going to do is we're going to take our air and we're going to blow all this area out and see if we can get all that debris away from the bases of the coils. Number 4 coil back there is bad, so we're going to replace it while we do the plugs. There's no labor on that because you've got it out anyway, so they get that for free, at least the price of the labor. Now the first thing we're going to do is pull these coils out. I usually do one side at a time on these trucks. And I also like to rotate the injector around a little bit, and it gives me a little bit extra room to get the coil bolt out and deal with everything. Now when it comes to pulling out these coils, I kind of want to start at the back and work my way forward, because if you're reaching over top of your empty holes, you're liable to knock something down into them. You don't want that. So we'll start with the rear one. That's the one we know is bad. A little bit of moisture in the bottom of it. It's water. It's not antifreeze or anything. We did look for an antifreeze leak first, because this one in the rear is notorious for having antifreeze dripping down into it from this heater hose right here. But we don't have that on this one. Looking inside, I do see a carbon track. I'll show you that here later. Well, here. Now, hopefully we'll get a focus out of it. That discoloration inside, some of it's not much to worry about, but you rotate that around and you see a dark spot that goes up along the ribs. That is what you want to worry about. I am not, here we go. We'll look at the plug when we get it out and see if we find a corresponding dark line on the plug. This is why when you have a coil go bad, you definitely want to change the plug along with it. And let's pull out. Always orient your coils to the hole they came out of, so you have something to look at if you find a bad plug. You know which coil was associated with it. I got to pull that boot out of number 3. Okay. We're gonna put that back on the coil right now. Now, when it comes to pulling these plugs out, I have a trick to get it done. I don't reach down in there to do it. I put me a little short extension below my universal because that hole's like that deep. Some of them I will use this extension right here. It'll give me a little bit extra room. I try to use the shortest one I can, but you're reaching down into a big old deep hole, so that is what makes it so much easier. I got my longer extension on this one for the back hole. Figures. I blew it all out and it still dropped something down in there. Oh, how? All right, after some fighting, I was able to get it out. It wasn't a rock. Usually a little pebble or something falls down here and you can't get the socket past it to get to the hex, but you can see it's just dirt. There's a whole bunch of dirt built up on it. Whenever I get all 4 plugs out, I'll crank it over and we'll blow all that stuff out of the cylinder so that we're not starting on top of the piston. But yeah, that's just muddy water that has sprayed up over the top of the engine and found its way down in that hole, and it can't get rid of it. So here we go. Shorts out the coil. Now we do not see but one spot right there. You see that line? It's got a corresponding spot inside of the coil on that point. That's why you replace the coil when you have a bad plug, because that spot is in the coil boot. And if you put a new plug in here, it'll just follow that same line down the coil boot to ground. Now, these plugs have about 70,000 on them. They don't look too bad though. Been in there for almost a decade. I'm going to check that seal across the top. It doesn't look bad, but I'm going to look at it because we've got a lot of dirt, which denotes muddy water. It's been sprayed all over the engine. So always at least try to look for the cause of your ailment. Our hood seal is good. It's not cracked or anything. I'm not seeing a whole bunch of contamination all over the motor. So I don't believe we're looking at a drowning incident. It's just accumulating. No way for it to get rid of it. Now we're going to crank the motor over and blow all that junk out of the holes. That's all it takes, just to make sure we don't have stuff on top of the piston when we start it after putting the plugs in. Now this one's old enough to actually show the plug gap right there on the tag underneath the hood of the truck. We're using Motorcraft Platinums, number SP493X. I always use Motorcraft and Ford products. Everybody else says you can use other things. I take a lot of those out because they don't run right. Now we know what the gap's supposed to be on these things. Always check the gap. This in here is at 54. All the rest of these were at 53, 52. Yep. Right there. Now they're all equal. It doesn't matter if it says it's pre-gapped, because you'll always run into something that's a little bit off, and then you'll run into the one that somebody dropped. So you always want to check your gap. Gotta have one that does it. Alright. Let's get them all in this side. We'll throw the coils in there and go to the other side. For coil, we're using a Blue Streak FD503. That's a standard brand. We'd rather have the older Borg Warner stuff, but they won't keep it anymore. It's not in stock. And dielectric grease. You can get it in a Permatex tube like this. Put a little dab in there and squeeze the end a little bit. Make sure you put that on everything. That keeps the thing from sticking down in there on your plug. It also seals out stuff like water. On this side here, we've got more stuff in the way. We've got the brace that goes over to the power steering reservoir here, and we've got the fuel pressure regulator sitting right over top of one of the coil bolts. So it makes this side a little bit more interesting. However, the spark plug holes are angled towards the back, so they point up towards the front here at the top. That makes them a little bit easier as far as getting the plugs in and out. So other than that, it's just the same as the other side. I usually choose to pull this cover off right here. We've got a couple 8mm and an 8mm under there. I'll go ahead and pull this cover off just so that it gets all that, and hopefully it won't take me long. Here's what it looks like with that plate removed. That's 8mm screws. Got the top removed. All the coils out. This is what I use to get to the ones on this side. It is a low profile 7mm 6-point socket. Snap-on makes it. Now, yes, these things are expensive, but you fight one of these one time and you've burned enough flat rate time to pay for this. So just get it and make sure you get it out in seconds, whereas if you try to get that thing out with a regular socket, you round it off. You try to get it out with a wrench, you fight it for 2 hours. Just get the right tool and get it done. Okay, we got the plugs all in there, got everything put back together. Now I'm gonna clear the codes out on it. See, we had these two lean codes, and while I was taking the left side apart, I found a vacuum line that was chewed off by mice. Your cat, or you're launching the missiles against the Soviets. Come on, get off yeah, come on. All right, now hopefully, but we had, you know, a cylinder 4 misfire, and when we inspected that, we found the carbon track coil. Now we're gonna clear the codes here. Okay, code's cleared. Here's what this vacuum deal look like. Chewy, chewy. I don't know if that would have made a difference, but we fixed it while we were there. Doesn't cost anything. I just found a piece of hose and stuck on it. I didn't have another elbow. We're going to take it out and test drive it. I've got to tighten up the shifter because it is floppy on this thing. I'll do that real quick, and then we're going to take it for a test drive. Okay, test drive complete. The shifter, I tightened it up, but it wasn't the problem with the shift indicator being off. The shift indicator was off because it was broken. Put a zip tie around that, put it back into position. So now we're all fixed, we're all ready to go. Like, comment, subscribe, hit your little bell notification, share it all around. We'll talk to you later.